Today we will be making 5 super easy moderation commands. We will be using slash commands and discord.py in the video, and you can skip to the timestamps on screen if you don't want all the commands featured here. Anyways, let's get straight into it. Alright, so what we're going to start off with is firstly we have to import our modules that we're going to use for this. So for our mute command, we're going to use human friendly, import parse timespan. So this is what we're going to need for mute command, and then we're going to need from, this is going to be for every single command, we're going to need optional, and from time import time delta. I also believe this is going to be for the mute command. Okay, so now that we have that, what we're going to do is we're going to start off with our kick command. Now, to start this off, we're going to kind of just copy this. There we go. And instead of name being sync, we're going to call name kick, and we're going to even add a description. The description is going to be kicks a member from the guild. And then what we're going to do is we have to add arguments. And now if you've checked out my slash command video, you know how to do this, but essentially we use app_commands.describe, and this is where we put in. So our first argument is going to be member, which is going to be equal to member to kick from guild. And then we can just kind of copy and paste this. And this one's going to be called reason. And it's going to be reason for kicking member. And there you go. So I can just, yeah. Okay, now that we have that, we're gonna check for some permissions. And so we can kind of just copy the line over here. You might have to write this one out, but it's gonna be .check.has_permissions. And what we're gonna do here is, I spelled that completely wrong. I think that's how you spell it. Yeah, and then essentially the one permission that they're gonna need is kick members, right? So we can do kick_members equals true. So if they have kick members, then they can run this. And now we can actually get started with writing the code. So the way it's gonna work is we're gonna do async def, and we're gonna call this kick. And obviously you're gonna have interaction is discord.interaction. And now you're gonna have to put in the arguments in here as well. So the two arguments that we're gonna need is member, which is gonna be a discord.member, and a reason. And this one is where our optional comes in play here, which is optional, and make sure it's a string. Optional, there we go. And so then we're gonna add a little colon, and essentially this will handle everything in the background. And so what we can do is we can just do await member kick reason equals reason, and then we're gonna do await interaction response send_message, and the message that we can send is we're gonna f string this. To do an f string, you're just gonna click F, and then you're just gonna do the normal quotation marks, and then you're gonna use the tilde keys to do something like member name then kick for, and then you can do please over here. And I'm also gonna make this an inferior one, ephemeral, I think it's called, which essentially means short lasting. True, and so only the person who ran the command can actually see this, right? You don't want to publicly display it. And so there you go, that's pretty much it. Now you can change this part to however you'd like, but yeah, that's it. Okay, for the ban command, what we're gonna do is it's gonna start off very similar to any other slash command. We're just gonna call it ban, and we're gonna do app_commands describe And then over here, we can add our arguments. So the first argument is going to be member, which is going to be member type to ban from guild. Copy that over, and this one's going to be called reason. Right, we can just write reason for banning member from guild. And there you go. And I also forgot to add a description to this. Do bans member from guild. There we go. Okay. And this command is going to be very, very similar to the kick command. The only difference is instead of kick, you're banning them. So if you did write that one, you can just kind of just copy and paste everything over. And then we can do @commands .describe and actually not describe, sorry. .check .has _ permissions. Okay, so it should be like that, and it's @_commands. Not bad. And so when you have that, you're gonna do ban _ members equals true, and that's what it should be like. Okay, and now we can do async def ban, and then we can do interaction Discord.interaction, and then we're gonna do member, and this one's kind of the same, Discord.member. And lastly, what we're gonna do is we're gonna do the reason, which is reason, and this is gonna be optional, and it's gonna be a TR. So in brackets, you want to put that one, and there you go. Right, and optional just makes use of our typing again. So you know, you don't have to provide a reason, but if you want, you can. And then what we're gonna do is we're just gonna do await member.ban, and it's gonna be reason equals reason. And then lastly, what we can do is we can even send a message. So I'm gonna take this one, so I don't wanna type it out all over again. And we're gonna f-string this. And so basically what we're gonna send is something like member.name. You can customize this however you'd like, but this is just the template I'm going for this video. Reason. Alright, there you go, and that is a ban command. It's pretty similar to a kick command, but now what we're going to do is we're going to move on to the mute and unmute commands. They're going to start off, both of them pretty much the same, so we're just going to do them together. So it's going to be bot.tree.command, and it's going to be name is going to be, first one we're going to do mute, and it's going to be reason, mutes a member from guild. Okay, there we go. And then we're gonna have three arguments for this one, so it's gonna be a bit bigger. It's gonna be @commands.describe, I believe, and then it's gonna be member equals, and then here we can put in the member to mute, so member to mute, and I'm just gonna copy and paste this 3 times, so it's pretty easy to change. It's gonna be reason and duration. Okay, so now that we have that, we can just say reason for member. This one's always going to be optional, and so is the duration, right? So duration mute. There we go. Okay, so you should have those 4 lines of code so far. And now we're gonna do the check, right? Make sure that nobody random, right? No random member can actually run this command, right? It should only be somebody that has the correct permissions for it, so has _ permissions. And what we're gonna do here is we can put in manage messages equals true. Okay, so this is the one that I believe. Some people do kick members, some people do manage server. It can be whatever you want, but manage messages essentially allows a person to, or a user, to delete messages or like pin things. And so I feel like if you can delete a message from a person, you can probably mute them as well. And so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna do the function itself, so async def, and it's gonna be called mute. And then we're gonna have interaction is Discord I can't type. Interaction. And then we can do member is Discord.member. And now here is, once again, we change, so reason is going to be optional. And we're going to do the bracket str. And then we're going to also have duration, which is also going to be optional str. But because we're going to use the timeout function, because it's the easiest way to do this, we're going to need a duration regardless. So I'm just going to do 14D, which is 14 days. I feel like 2 weeks is more than enough to meet some people. And then what we're going to do is we're going to essentially parse this, right? We're going to make sure we're going to convert this into a time that actually the bot will understand and that we can pass into the function. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to be using a try and accept function. And so what try and accept functions essentially are is that it tries this, and if something happens, I guess if something messes up, if you had an error, then it will run this. But if it doesn't run an error, then you're good, right? It's pretty great. And so we're going to try accept, and the exception in this case is going to be invalid time span. So let's say they pass something completely random into the duration and it doesn't work, right? And so then we're going to get an invalid time span error, in which case we can kind of just send something back to them, be like, yo, you know, you kind of messed up here. So we're going to return await, and instead of saying command sync here, we're going to say we're going to asterisk this. We can do something like duration is not a valid format. And then we can even give them a couple of examples, right? So we can do 5 seconds, 5 minutes, 5 hours, and 5 days. Right? And so now that we have that, remove this one. I've got the total key should be over here. And then we're also going to send this like privately. So confirm equals true. Okay. So that's what you should get. And if you get an error from this, make sure the spelling for ephemeral is correct. Now, because a lot of you guys have errors with that one. But let's say the duration was perfectly fine, right? Then we can just go ahead and timeout this. Await member.timeout. And it's going to be, now we're going to have to do we're going to have to use this other library. And so the way we're going to do this is we're going to first do utils.utc now. And utils is being imported from Discord, by the way. And then we're going to add that, so whatever our current UTC is, time delta, so the difference in time, seconds equals duration, reason equals reason. So we kind of just add on the seconds, and we just tell it when to stop. And then we're going to do await, and kind of like the same thing right here. Just copy this. But instead of duration, we're going to just say member.name. And so has been muted for about yada yada yada. Has been muted for, and then give them a reason. It's a reason. And there you go. That is a mute command. Pretty simple, pretty easy. I think all of you guys could do it. But now we gotta unmute the person too. And so I'm gonna do it right here. And a lot of this code is actually gonna be pretty similar. So we can just actually go ahead and copy this entire just first 5 lines. We're gonna kind of just change everything. So over here, unmute is gonna become mute. Mute is gonna be called unmutes a member from the old. Member to unmute. Reason for unmuting a member. Duration, and we can get rid of duration. We can also get rid of duration from over here. So the code will be a little bit shorter, and we can also change the function name to unmute. Okay, so that's what we have over there. And then for the code itself, for the unmute, it's gonna be pretty simple. So it's gonna first check if the member itself is actually muted. So if not, member dot is underscore. So this essentially checks if member is not timed out, right? Then we can't unmute him, right? If he's unmuted, we can't unmute somebody who's already unmuted. So we can just send response. We can just kind of let them know by saying something like member.name is already unmuted. There we go. Something simple, right? But now let's say they're not muted, right? They actually are muted. Well, then we can just unmute them. So the way we do that is await member.timeout, and then we just do none, reason equals reason, and then we can just send them a message. So where I'm going to copy this part, and then I can essentially just say something like has been unmuted for, and then reason. Okay, and there you go, right? That is our mute and unmute commands. Now we're gonna have our purge command, and essentially what purge does is it will clear a bunch of text from the chat altogether, so you don't have to manually delete it. It's pretty simple. So we're gonna start off with the bot.tree command, and its name is gonna be purge. And then we're gonna need 2 arguments for this, which is gonna be the amount and the reason. So underscore app.commands describe, and this is gonna be called amount. So amount equals and amount of messages to clear from chat. And copy this, and we're gonna call it reason. So reason for clearing messages from chat. Reason for clearing messages chat. Okay, there you go. And now lastly, we're just gonna check. So app commands.check has underscore permissions, and the permissions that we're actually going to check for are manage messages. Simple. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to actually start writing the function itself, which is going to be called purge. So async def purge, and you'll probably notice that a lot of the commands that we've written in this URL are pretty much the same. At least the setup for it is very similar. So if you've done any of those, any of the previous ones, you can always just copy and paste it and then change it up a bit, so it fits for every single one. But now we're going to do interaction, and then we're going to do the amount of messages, which is just going to be an integer. And then we're going to do the reason, which is going to be optional, and a string. Alright, so now that we have that, if the amount is more than 100, we're going to say it takes too much time to purge it, and you got to do it in smaller chunks essentially. So return await, and we can kind of just say amount too large, please keep it 100. Imperial is true. Okay, it should be something pretty simple, just like that. You can always increase this and then just keep it increases as well, right? So you can set this to 1,000 if you'd like, but I just know that 100, just for the tutorial sake, I'm gonna keep it at that. Okay, now we can do await interaction channel purge, and this is actually just gonna get rid of it from all the channel. Limit equals amount, and reason equals reason. And then what we can do is await interaction.response.send. And what we're gonna kind of do is we're just gonna do successfully purged amount messages the channel, and it's also going to be imperial, so true. And there you go, that's the purge command done. So now we're going to hop into Discord and we're going to check all of these out. Okay, so our bot is up right now, and so just to check if it's online, we can do subscribe help, and you can see it shows up, but we did all slash commands, so there's nothing going to be up here. But we're going to start it off. So here are the commands that we made. There are a couple extra ones, don't worry about those. But basically, we're gonna start off by muting somebody, right? So we're gonna mute, I don't know, Carlos. Why not subscribe? There we go. He was muted for not subscribed. So now, if you go over here, we can actually see that he's muted. But he is. And so now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna unmute him. So unmute Carlos again. And reason is he's subscribed. And there we go, he was unmuted. Now if we try to unmute somebody who is not, right, unmuted, right, let's say, this fella, T. You know, we'll try doing Ultra. They don't have any existing timeouts. It's pretty simple. Okay, so now for our purge command, I spammed a little bit. And so we can just purge this also. Purge right here. And let's say, oh no, this looks like 10 messages, so we're gonna do 10. And we got rid of it. Okay, so now our last two are gonna be ban and kick. And so it's pretty hard to show these, but I'm gonna try my best. We're gonna ban and kick a couple bots that we don't really need. So let's say Discord. I don't really like you, right? So we're gonna do ban Discord. There we go. Reason, we don't even need reason. It's gone. You can see it disappeared right here. Let's say we want to kick another bot, right? Giveaway bot we don't really use, and so we're gonna do. No, we're not gonna kick Drone. Giveaway bot. There we go. Or even this bot right here. We can kick it at Elm, and actually it's one of my bots, so they can't kick it. And you can see it kicks. And there you have it. 5 super basic but very necessary moderation commands for your Discord bot. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe. But until next time, Glowstik out. See ya!